So I've been talking a lot about quantum entanglement, and a bunch of people have asked, how do you entangle particles in the first place? And hopefully this will demystify things a little bit. One of the most common ways to entangle particles is to use a beam splitter. So you have a stream of photons, and those photons get split into 2 photons each. Now the mechanics of that is spontaneous parametric down conversion, SPDC, and nonlinear Chi crystals. It's complex stuff, but the point is the end product is 1 photon becomes 2 photons. Now here's the thing you have to understand. Photons are essentially a wave. That's kind of key in quantum mechanics. Everything is a wave in a quantum field. Now imagine a wave in the ocean coming toward the shore, and that wave hits a rock in the middle of it. Now it has split into 2 waves, and those waves are entangled. What do I mean? How could actual waves of water be entangled? Well, that original first wave had properties, which means that the properties of those 2 waves that first wave split into were dependent on the properties of the first. And that means that the properties of one can tell us stuff about the properties of another. And this might sound really demystifying. This might sound a lot less cool than something spooky is happening at a distance and the particles are changing in ways we can't understand. But that's because the point is to demystify it. This is kind of how particle science is treating it. Something spooky is happening at a distance is a great way to get people into the concept, but in reality, this is just one wave being dependent on another in a quantum world. It's just that quantum waves sometimes act weirdly. Like when a quantum wave is in a superposition, that means that there's a % chance it could act one way and a % chance it could act the other. And what that means depends on the particular model of quantum mechanics that you ascribe to. But in the terms of entanglement, that means that if a wave in a superposition gets split into 2, then the superposition of those 2 other resulting waves are going to be dependent on each other. So if you observe one, you now know information about the other. Again, this is being demystified because it's not mysticism, it's science. And that's why you can't really transmit information. Because again, take the 2 waves in the ocean example. One wave splits into 2, and if you put a barrier in front of one to change that wave, the other one isn't changed. The same thing applies in the quantum world. When you split a photon apart, you can observe one and figure out something about the other no matter how far apart they are. But if you then do something to that photon, they're not dependent on each other anymore. That's what me and other science educators say when they say the entanglement breaks. All that entanglement is setting up situations in which one wave would be dependent on another. One particle, like a photon, is dependent on another. If you do something to it, well, its state isn't dependent on that other wave anymore. Now it's dependent on whatever you did to it. So yeah, that's what entanglement is. It's not some weird psychic particle communication. It's just science.